Taesung wiped the grease from his hands and stepped back from the engine. The massive machine hummed smoothly now, its blue light glowing steady instead of flickering like before. He had spent 6 hours finding the problem, a tiny crack in a cooling pipe that the Valoran engineers had missed 3 times. "It works," he said quietly to himself. The engine room door opened. Commander Nara walked in with 2 Valoran engineers behind her. She stood over 2 meters tall, her silver skin shining under the lights. Her eyes were cold and sharp as she looked at the engine, then at Taesung. "The engine is repaired," one of the Valoran engineers said. "We found the problem and fixed it." Taesung opened his mouth to speak, but the engineer continued talking. "The cooling system had a small crack. We sealed it with the new compound." Commander Nara nodded. "Good work. The fleet moves tomorrow. We cannot afford delays." She turned and walked out without looking at Taesung. The Valoran engineers followed her. One of them glanced back at Taesung with a small smile that was not friendly. Taesung stood alone in the engine room. This was not the first time. It would not be the last. The Valoran Dominion was one of the most powerful forces in the galaxy. Their women were tall, strong, and had the ability to read thoughts and move objects with their minds. They had conquered many species and built an empire that stretched across thousands of star systems. Earth had joined the Dominion 5 years ago. Humans were not conquered. They were invited. But the invitation came with conditions. Humans were considered weak. They had no psychic powers. Their bodies were small and soft. So humans were given simple jobs: cleaning, carrying, basic repairs. Human men had it worst of all. Valoran society was led by women. Men in their culture were valued only for their psychic strength. Human men had no such strength. They were seen as almost useless. Taesung was an engineer. Back on Earth, he had designed spacecraft systems. Here on the Valoran flagship Crimson Dawn, he was called a maintenance assistant. He fixed what others could not fix, but he was never given credit. He walked through the ship's corridors toward the medical bay. The Valoran crew members passed him without looking at him. He was invisible to them. The medical bay was busy when he arrived. Dongwu was treating a Valoran soldier who had been injured during training. The soldier sat on the bed with her arm cut open, purple blood dripping onto the floor. Dongwu worked quickly and calmly. He cleaned the wound, applied medicine, and began to close the cut with careful stitches. "You should go to a real doctor," the Valoran soldier said. Her voice was full of doubt. "The real doctors are busy with the officers," Dongwu said. He did not look up from his work. "Your wound will heal in 3 days. Keep it clean and dry." The soldier looked at her arm. The stitches were perfect. She frowned like she did not want to admit it. "I will see a Valoran doctor tomorrow," she said, "to make sure it is done correctly." She stood up and walked out. Dongwu watched her go, then cleaned his tools. "She will find nothing wrong," Taesung said. "I know," Dongwu replied. "But she needs to believe a Valoran checked my work." Taesung sat down on an empty bed. "They took credit for the engine repair again." Dongwu nodded slowly. "Of course they did." The door opened, and Hyun-Ki walked in. He was holding a data pad, and his face looked troubled. "We have a problem," he said. Hyun-Ki was a tactical analyst. On Earth, he had worked for military intelligence. He could look at a battle plan and see the weaknesses that others missed. Here on the Crimson Dawn, he was allowed to sit in strategy meetings, but only to take notes. No one asked for his opinion. "What kind of problem?" Taesung asked. Hyun-Ki looked around to make sure they were alone. He lowered his voice. "The fleet is going to attack the Krell Empire tomorrow. I saw the battle plan in the meeting today." "And?" Dongwu asked. "The plan is wrong. The route they chose goes through the Navarre asteroid field. They think it will give them cover." Hyun-Ki shook his head. But the Krell know those asteroids better than anyone. They have been hiding ships there for months. I saw the reports, small signals, heat traces, things the Valorans ignored because they seemed unimportant. Tae-sung felt cold. You think it is an ambush? I am certain, Hyun-Ki said. The Krell are waiting for us. If the fleet goes in there, they will be surrounded. Did you tell the commander? Dong-woo asked. Hyun-Ki laughed, but there was no humor in it. I tried. I asked Lieutenant Yuna if I could speak about the tactical plan. She told me to focus on my notes. Try again, Tae-sung said. Go to the commander directly. She will not listen to me, Hyun-Ki said. I am a human. I am a man. I take notes. That is all they see. The three men sat in silence. They had all felt this before. The frustration of knowing something important, but having no voice to speak it. Then we prepare, Tae-sung said finally. Dong-woo and Hyun-Ki looked at him. If you are right, Tae-sung continued, the fleet will be hit hard. There will be damage. There will be wounded. We prepare for that. Without authorization? Dong-woo asked. We do our jobs, Tae-sung said. I will check all emergency systems. You stock extra medical supplies. Hyun-Ki, you keep studying the Krell positions. If the ambush comes, we need to know everything. Hyun-Ki nodded slowly. And if I am wrong? Then we wasted some time, Tae-sung said. But you are not wrong. That night, the three men worked quietly. Tae-sung tested every backup system on the ship. Dong-woo moved extra supplies to secondary medical stations throughout the Crimson Dawn. Hyun-Ki studied every piece of data he could find about Krell tactics. No one noticed them. No one asked what they were doing. They were just humans doing human work. In the morning, Commander Nara addressed the fleet. Her voice was strong and confident. Today, we strike at the heart of Krell territory. We will show them the power of the Dominion. Victory is certain. The Valoran officers cheered. The human workers stayed silent. The fleet jumped to light speed and headed for the Navarre asteroid field. Hyun-Ki stood at his station on the bridge, his datapad in his hands. He watched the navigation screen as the asteroids grew closer. His heart beat fast. He knew what was waiting for them in there. He had tried to warn them. They had not listened. Now everyone would learn the price of not listening. The fleet moved through space in perfect formation. 12 warships, each one massive and powerful. The Crimson Dawn led them all, its red hull cutting through the darkness like a blade. On the bridge, Commander Nara stood at the center, watching the screens. The Navarre asteroid field was 1 hour away. Everything was going according to plan. Hyun-Ki stood at his station near the back of the bridge. His job was to record the officers' decisions and organize tactical data. Nothing more. But his eyes kept moving to the scanner readings. He could see small energy signatures hiding in the asteroids, faint heat traces, things that should not be there. He had to try again. He walked toward Lieutenant Yuna. She was the weapons officer. Tall and serious, with dark silver skin and eyes that missed nothing. Among all the Valoran officers, she was the least dismissive of humans. Sometimes she actually looked at them when they spoke. Lieutenant, Hyun-Ki said, may I show you something? Yuna glanced at him. What is it? He held up his data pad. I have been studying the scanner data from the asteroid field. There are energy patterns here that suggest hidden ships. The Krell may be waiting for us. Yuna took the data pad. She looked at the screen for a few seconds, then handed it back. These readings are too weak to be ships, she said. They are probably mineral deposits or old debris. With respect, Lieutenant, the pattern matches Krell engine signatures. They run their ships cold to avoid detection, but there is always some heat. Look at the distribution. Enough. Yuna's voice was not angry, but it was final. Human tactical thinking is limited. You see patterns where there are none because you cannot process information the way we do. Focus on your notes. She turned away. Hyun-Ki stood there for a moment, holding his datapad. He wanted to grab her arm to make her look again, but that would only make things worse. He returned to his station. 30 minutes later, the fleet entered the asteroid field. The asteroids were huge, some of them bigger than cities. They floated slowly through space, dark and silent. The fleet moved between them carefully, following the planned route. "All ships report ready," an officer announced. "Excellent," Commander Nara said. "We will reach Krell space in 4 hours. Prepare all weapons." Hyun-Ki watched his screen. The energy signatures were still there, scattered among the asteroids. They were not moving. They were waiting. He made a decision. He left his station and walked toward Commander Nara. Several officers looked at him with surprise. A human approaching the commander without being called was unusual. "Commander," Hyun-Ki said, "I must speak with you." Nara turned. Her eyes were like ice. "You must?" "Yes. The fleet is in danger." The bridge went quiet. Every Valoran officer stared at him. "Explain," Nara said. Her voice was cold. Hyun-Ki held up his datapad. "There are Krell ships hiding in these asteroids. I have tracked their heat signatures. They are positioned to surround us once we pass through the center of the field." Nara did not take the datapad. She did not even look at it. "Lieutenant Yuna reviewed your data," she said. "She found nothing." The lieutenant did not look long enough. "The pattern is clear if you—" "Enough!" Nara's voice cut through the air like a blade. "You are a note-taker. You are not trained in Valoran tactical analysis. You do not have the mental capacity to understand fleet warfare. I have 20 years of military intelligence experience. On Earth." Nara almost smiled. "Human military experience means nothing here. Your species has never fought a war beyond your own small planet. You do not understand how the galaxy works." Hyun-Ki felt his face grow hot. "Commander, please, just look at the data." "Return to your station," Nara said. "If you speak again without permission, you will be confined to quarters." Hyun-Ki looked around the bridge. Every Valoran face showed the same thing: annoyance, dismissal, even amusement. The human thought he knew better than them. How foolish. Only Lieutenant Yuna looked different. She was frowning slightly, her eyes thoughtful, but she said nothing. Hyun-Ki walked back to his station. In the medical bay, Dong-Woo was working fast. He moved extra supplies to cabinets near the emergency exits: bandages, blood-stop foam, pain medicine, burn treatment. He did not know what kind of injuries would come, so he prepared for everything. A Valoran nurse watched him with confusion. "Why are you moving supplies?" she asked. "The main storage is more efficient." "In an emergency, you need supplies in many locations," Dong-Woo said. "If the main storage is damaged, you lose everything." The nurse shook her head. "Humans always expect disaster." "It is a weakness of your species." Dong-Woo did not answer. He kept working. In the engine room, Tae-sung was doing his own preparations. He checked the backup power systems, tested the emergency shields, and made sure the escape pods were ready. The Valoran engineers ignored him. They were playing a game on their communicators. His communicator buzzed. A message from Hyun-Ki. The commander refused to listen. "We are on our own." Tae-sung read the message twice. He felt fear, but also something else: determination. He sent a reply to both Hyun-Ki and Dong-Woo. "Stay ready. When it happens, we will need to act fast." On the bridge, Hyun-Ki watched the asteroids pass by on the screen. The fleet was halfway through the field now. The energy signatures were all around them. Lieutenant Yuna walked to a secondary console. She started looking at scanner data, her fingers moving quickly. She was checking the readings Hyun-Ki had shown her. For a moment, Hyun-Ki felt hope. Then Yuna stopped. She looked at the screen for a long time. She turned to Commander Nara, her mouth open to speak. At that exact moment, the asteroids exploded with light. Krell ships appeared from everywhere, behind rocks, inside craters, underneath debris, dozens of them. They opened fire instantly. The first shots hit the Crimson Dawn's shields. The ship shook hard. Officers grabbed their consoles to stay standing. "Ambush!" someone shouted. Commander Nara's face went white. "All ships! Defensive formation! Return fire!" But the Krell had planned well. The Valoran ships were spread out, moving through the asteroids in a line. They could not form up fast enough. Hyun-Ki watched as 2 Valoran ships exploded in the first wave of attacks, then a third. On his screen, he could see the Krell positions clearly now. They were exactly where he had predicted. He had been right, but being right meant nothing if everyone died. Lieutenant Yuna turned and looked at him across the bridge. Her face was pale. In her eyes, he saw something he had never seen from a Valoran before. She believed him now, but it was too late. The bridge of the Crimson Dawn was chaos. Explosions rocked the ship again and again. Officers shouted over each other. Lights flickered. Smoke poured from a damaged console near the front. Commander Nara stood at the center trying to take control. "All ships, pull back! Concentrate fire on the nearest enemy vessels!" But her commands were not working. The Valoran officers used telepathic links to coordinate in battle. It was faster than speaking, faster than any communication system. But the Krell had come prepared. They were broadcasting a jamming signal that disrupted psychic connections. The Valoran officers were not used to fighting without their mental links. They stumbled over their words. They gave conflicting orders. Ships moved in different directions. "I cannot reach the other captains," one officer shouted. "The link is blocked." "Use the communication system," Nara ordered. "The channels are overwhelmed. Everyone is talking at once." Another explosion hit the ship. Hyun-Ki grabbed his console to keep from falling. On his screen, he watched another Valoran ship break apart under Krell fire. 5 ships destroyed in the first 2 minutes. The Krell were not just attacking, they were hunting. They had positioned their ships perfectly. Every Valoran vessel was in a crossfire. There was nowhere to run. Commander Nara's face was tight with stress. She was a good commander, but she had never faced anything like this. None of them had. The Dominion was always the hunter, never the prey. "What are your orders?" Lieutenant Yuna asked. Her voice was steady, but her eyes showed fear. Nara did not answer immediately. She was staring at the tactical screen, watching her fleet die. Hyun-Ki made a decision. He left his station and walked to the tactical display at the center of the bridge. He pushed past a Valoran officer who tried to stop him. "Commander," he said, "I can help." Nara turned to him. Her eyes were wild with anger and desperation. "You? You are just a—" "I know the Krell tactics," Hyun-Ki said quickly. "I studied them for weeks. I know how they fight, and I know how to beat them. Let me help, or we all die here." Nara stared at him. The ship shook from another hit. "Commander," Lieutenant Yuna said, "we should listen to him." Nara looked at Yuna with surprise. "He predicted this ambush," Yuna continued. "He was right. Maybe he knows how to get us out." The ship lurched hard. A damage report came in. The main weapons were offline. The shields were at 30%. Nara clenched her jaw. She looked at Hyun-Ki with an expression that was almost painful. A proud woman forced to accept help from someone she considered beneath her. "Speak," she said. Hyun-Ki stepped to the tactical display. His hands moved fast, adjusting the view. "The Krell expected us to fight in formation," he said. "That is how Valorans always fight, organized, coordinated. But our coordination is broken, so we need to do something they do not expect." He pointed to a cluster of large asteroids on the screen. "There. The Krell have no ships behind those asteroids because the rocks are too big to fly through. But our ships are more maneuverable. If we push through that gap, we can regroup on the other side." "That is too dangerous," an officer said. "We could crash." We will definitely die if we stay here, Hyun-Ki said. The gap is dangerous, but it is possible. I can calculate the flight paths. Nara studied the display. Another explosion made the lights flicker. Do it, she said. Hyun-Ki's fingers flew over the controls. He calculated paths for each surviving ship, accounting for size, speed, and damage. It was complex work, the kind of work that would normally take hours. He did it in minutes. Send these coordinates to all ships, he said. Tell them to follow exactly. No deviation. Nara hesitated for just a moment. Then she gave the order. The surviving Valoran ships broke from the battle and raced toward the asteroid cluster. The Krell pursued, firing constantly. One ship did not make it. Hit from behind, it spiraled into an asteroid and exploded. But the others reached the gap. The passage was terrifying. Massive rocks filled the view screens, leaving only narrow spaces between them. The ships twisted and turned, following Hyun-Ki's calculated paths. The Crimson Dawn scraped against an asteroid, sending sparks across the hull. Hyun-Ki adjusted the path instantly. 10 degrees left! Now! The ship turned hard. It cleared the rock with meters to spare. One by one, the surviving ships emerged on the other side. They were battered and damaged, but alive. The Krell did not follow. Their ships were larger and less agile. They circled around the asteroids instead, but that gave the Valorans time. All ships, form defensive position, Nara ordered. Her voice was stronger now. The fleet gathered together, 6 ships remaining out of 12. They faced the asteroids, weapons ready. The Krell appeared around the edges of the cluster. They were still more numerous, still stronger, but they had lost their perfect trap. They will attack again soon, Yuna said. Yes, Hyun-Ki agreed. But now we can fight back. In the engine room, Tae-sung was fighting his own battle. The ship's power systems were damaged. Conduits had burst, circuits had fried. The Valoran engineers were trying to fix the main systems, but they were overwhelmed. Tae-sung worked on the secondary systems. He rerouted power from non-essential areas to the shields and weapons. He bypassed damaged circuits with creative connections that were not in any manual. What are you doing? A Valoran engineer demanded. That is not standard procedure. Standard procedure will take 2 hours, Tae-sung said. This will take 20 minutes. The engineer started to argue, but another explosion shook the ship. He looked at the damage around him, then at Tae-sung's work. Continue, he said quietly. In the medical bay, Dongwoo was overwhelmed with wounded. Valoran officers and crew came in with burns, broken bones, cuts from broken glass. His extra supplies were already being used. He worked without stopping, moving from patient to patient. Some Valoran doctors worked beside him now. They were too busy to care that he was human. This one needs surgery, a doctor said, pointing to an officer with internal injuries. I can do it, Dongwoo said. The doctor looked at him doubtfully. I trained for this on Earth, Dongwoo said. I have done it many times. The doctor hesitated, then nodded. There was no one else. Dongwoo operated for 40 minutes. His hands were steady and sure. The officer survived. On the bridge, a terrible message came through. The Admiral's flagship has been destroyed. Admiral Hana is dead. Silence fell over the bridge. Admiral Hana had been the highest-ranking officer in the fleet. She had commanded the Dominion's forces for 30 years. Now she was gone. Commander Nara stood very still. Then she straightened her shoulders. I am now the ranking officer, she said. All ships will follow my command. She looked at Hyun-Ki. And I will need your help. Hyun-Ki nodded. The Krell think they have won. They expect us to surrender or try to run. We need to show them they are wrong. How? Hyun-Ki looked at the tactical display. His mind was already working on a plan. We fight like humans, he said. The 6 surviving ships floated in a tight formation, their damaged hulls facing the enemy. Around them, The Krell fleet circled like predators, waiting for the right moment to strike. On the bridge of the Crimson Dawn, Commander Nara stood before her officers. Her face was hard, but her eyes showed the weight of command. "We have 6 ships against their 15, she said. "Our main weapons are offline. Our shields are weak. The psychic links are still jammed." She paused. "I will not lie to you. Our situation is desperate." No one spoke. The officers who had been so confident that morning now looked afraid. "But we are not beaten," Nara continued. "We have made mistakes today. We did not listen when we should have listened. We dismissed warnings because of pride." Her eyes moved to Hyun-Ki for just a moment. "That stops now." She stepped aside and gestured for Hyun-Ki to approach the tactical display. This human predicted the ambush. His analysis was correct when ours was wrong. He will help us plan our next move. Some officers shifted uncomfortably. A human leading tactical planning? It was unheard of, but no one argued. The destroyed ships floating in the asteroid field had killed their pride. Hyun-Ki stepped forward. "The Krell are confident now. They think we are trapped and weak. They expect Valorans to fight with honor, direct attacks, formal challenges. They are not prepared for deception." "Deception?" an officer asked with distaste. "Humans have survived for thousands of years by being clever," Hyun-Ki said. "We were never the strongest or fastest creatures on our planet. We won by thinking differently than our enemies expected." He brought up a display of the Krell fleet positions. "My plan has 3 parts. First, we make them think we are weaker than we are. Second, we repair our weapons using methods they will not expect. Third, we draw them into a trap of our own." Lieutenant Yuna leaned forward. "What kind of trap?" Hyun-Ki smiled slightly. "We are going to surrender." Silence. Then several officers started talking at once. "Surrender? That is, we cannot. The dishonor." "Not a real surrender," Hyun-Ki said. "A false one. We send a message that we want to negotiate. The Krell will come closer to accept. When they are in position, we hit them with everything we have." "That is treachery," an officer said. "It is against the rules of war." "The Krell ambushed us using hidden ships," Hyun-Ki said. "They are not following rules of war, and humans do not have the same rules. We do what we must to survive." Commander Nara was quiet, thinking. It went against everything Valorans believed about honor and proper combat. But she had lost half her fleet by following those beliefs. "Continue," she said. Hyun-Ki nodded. He pointed to Tae-sung on the display. "My colleague in engineering has a plan to repair our main weapons. It will require parts from the destroyed Krell ships floating nearby." "Enemy technology?" an engineer asked. "That cannot work with our systems." "He believes it can. And we have nothing to lose by trying." Hyun-Ki then highlighted the medical bay. "Our medic has been treating wounded Krell prisoners. He has discovered something about their biology, a weakness we can exploit in the attack." Nara raised an eyebrow. "What weakness?" "The Krell command officers have special implants that connect them to their ships. If we target the right frequency, we can overload those implants. It will not kill them, but it will disable them for several minutes. Without commanders, their ships will be confused." Yuna looked impressed, despite herself. "You learned all this from treating prisoners?" "Humans are curious," Hyun-Ki said. "We always want to understand how things work, even our enemies." The plan was bold. It was risky. It was not the Valoran way, but it might be their only chance. "I need to speak with my colleagues," Hyun-Ki said. "We need to coordinate our parts of the plan." Nara nodded. "Lieutenant Yuna will assist you." Yuna looked surprised. Working directly with a human? "You heard him correctly," Nara said. "I want you to help them succeed. Provide whatever they need." Yuna straightened. "Yes, Commander." 1 hour later, the 3 humans met in a storage room with Lieutenant Yuna. It was the first time they had gathered since the ambush began. "Can you really repair the main weapons?" Hyun-Ki asked Tai-Sung. Tai-Sung nodded. "I have been studying Krell technology since we arrived. Their power systems are not so different from ours. I can adapt their components to fit our weapons, but I need to salvage parts from the destroyed ships outside." "That means a spacewalk," Dong-Woo said, "in the middle of a battlefield." "I will go," Tai-Sung said. "I know exactly what I need." "I will send a team to protect you," Yuna said. "You will have 15 minutes before the Krell notice." Tai-Sung nodded. "What about the biological weapon?" Hyun-Ki asked Dong-Woo. Dong-Woo pulled out a small device. "The Krell implants operate on a specific frequency. This emitter will broadcast a pulse that overloads them. But the range is limited, maybe 200 meters. We need to get very close to their command ships." "We will," Hyun-Ki said. "That is part of the plan." Yuna watched the three humans with an expression that mixed confusion with respect. "How do you do it?" she asked. They looked at her. "Stay calm," she said. "Think clearly. We are in a terrible situation and you act like it is just another problem to solve." Hyun-Ki considered the question. "Humans have always faced situations where we were weaker than our enemies, bigger animals, harsh climates, diseases. We survived by not giving up. By finding solutions, it is who we are." "And you?" Yuna asked, looking at Tai-Sung. "Fear does not help," Tai-Sung said simply, "so I focus on the work." Yuna nodded slowly. "The Dominion has conquered many species, but we have never studied them as closely as we should have, especially humans." "Maybe after this you will," Dong-Woo said. Meanwhile, the Krell commander grew impatient. He sent a message to the Valoran fleet. "You are surrounded and broken. Surrender now and your crew will be taken prisoner. Refuse, and we will destroy you completely. You have 12 hours to decide." The message played on every Valoran ship. Commander Nara listened with a calm face. Then she looked at Hyun-Ki. 12 hours, she said. "Is that enough time?" Hyun-Ki smiled. "It is more than enough." The humans went to work. Tai-Sung put on a spacesuit and went outside with a small team. The battlefield was haunting, wreckage everywhere, bodies floating in the void. He pushed it from his mind and focused on his mission. He found a destroyed Krell ship and cut into its engine compartment. The power cells were intact. He took them and returned to the Crimson Dawn. For the next 8 hours, he worked without stopping. He adapted the Krell components to fit the Valoran weapon systems. It was delicate work, connecting technologies that were never meant to work together. But Tai-Sung saw the patterns, the similarities. Where others saw impossible differences, he saw solutions. At hour 10, the main weapons came online, stronger than before. Dong-Woo prepared his biological pulse emitters. He made 3 of them, enough for the key command ships. Hyun-Ki refined his tactical plan with Lieutenant Yuna. They mapped every Krell ship position, every possible response. They practiced the timing over and over. At hour 11, Commander Nara called all the humans to the bridge. "Is everything ready?" she asked. They nodded. Nara took a deep breath. Then she opened a channel to the Krell commander. "This is Commander Nara of the Valoran Dominion. We accept your terms. We will surrender." The Krell commander's voice came back, pleased and proud. "A wise decision. Power down your weapons and lower your shields. We will approach to take your surrender." Nara closed the channel. She looked at Hyun-Ki. "May your human gods help us," she said. "They will," Hyun-Ki replied, "but we will help ourselves first." The trap was set. The Krell fleet moved forward in victory formation. 15 warships approaching the 6 damaged Valoran vessels. The Krell commander stood on his bridge, watching with satisfaction. "Lower their shields," he ordered. His sensor officer reported back. "The Valoran shields are down. Their weapons are offline. They are ready for capture." The commander smiled. His sharp teeth showed. "Excellent." This will be a great victory. The Dominion has never lost a fleet to us before. The Krell ships came closer. 1,000 meters, 800, 500. On the Crimson Dawn, Hyun-Ki watched the distance counter on his screen. His heart beat fast, but his hands were steady. "They are entering optimal range," he said quietly. Commander Nara stood beside him. Her body was tense. This went against every instinct she had, waiting passively while enemies approached, pretending to be defeated when she wanted to fight. "Hold," Hyun-Ki said. "Not yet." The Krell command ship was in the center of their formation. It was the largest vessel, covered in heavy armor and powerful weapons. If they could disable that ship, the others would lose coordination. 400 meters, 300. "Now?" Nara asked. "Almost. 200 meters. The Krell command ship was directly in front of them." "Now," Hyun-Ki said. Everything happened at once. Dongwu activated the biological pulse emitter. The signal burst out from the Crimson Dawn, invisible but powerful. It hit the Krell command ship and spread through its systems. On the Krell bridge, the commander suddenly grabbed his head. The implant behind his ear was burning, overloading. He fell to his knees. Around him, every officer with a command implant collapsed. "Sir," a soldier shouted, "what is happening?" No one could answer. At the same moment, Tae-sung activated the repaired weapons. The main cannon fired, not once, but 3 times in rapid succession. The shots were faster than any Valoran weapon had ever fired before. The Krell technology he had added made it possible. The first shot hit the Krell command ship's engines, the second hit its weapons array, the third hit its communication tower. The most powerful ship in the Krell fleet was crippled in 3 seconds. "All ships attack!" Nara shouted. The Valoran fleet came alive. Shields went up, weapons came online. The 6 surviving ships fired everything they had. The Krell were in chaos. Their command ship was disabled. Their officers were unconscious from the implant overload. They had expected a peaceful surrender, not an attack. Ships crashed into each other trying to retreat. Some fired wildly, missing their targets. 2 Krell ships accidentally shot each other in the confusion. Hyun-Ki directed the attack from his console. "Target the ship on the left. The one with damage to its front section. Their shields are weakest there." Lieutenant Yuna relayed his orders to the weapons officers. She did not hesitate or question. She had learned to trust him. "Fire!" The damaged Krell ship exploded. "Now the 2 ships trying to flank us. Concentrate fire on the one closer to the asteroid." Another explosion. The Krell were trying to reorganize. Their second-in-command took control of the fleet. "All ships, pull back. Form defensive line." But they were too slow. The Valoran attack was precise and relentless. Hyun-Ki knew exactly where to strike. Tae-sung was not finished in the engine room. The extra power demands were straining the ship's systems. He ran from console to console, adjusting power flow, preventing overloads, keeping everything running. A Valoran engineer worked beside him now, not giving orders but following them. "Redirect power from life support on decks 7 through 10, Tae-sung said. "Those areas are evacuated anyway." "Done," the engineer said. "Good. Now increase coolant flow to the main cannon. It is overheating." They worked together like a team. No more pride, no more questions about who was in charge. Only survival mattered. Dongwu moved through the ship with his remaining pulse emitters. The Crimson Dawn was getting closer to 2 more Krell command vessels as the battle shifted. "I need to get to the forward hull," he told a security officer. "I can hit the next ships from there." "That area is taking heavy fire," the officer said. "I know. Take me anyway." The officer looked at him, this small human who showed no fear. Then she nodded and led the way. They ran through corridors filled with smoke and sparks. Explosions shook the deck. Dongwu held his emitters tight and kept moving. They reached the forward observation deck. Through the window, he could see 2 Krell command ships nearby. "Cover your ears," Dongwu said. He activated the emitters and placed them against the window. The pulse went out. On both Krell ships, the command officers collapsed. The ships began to drift, their weapons going silent. "It worked," the security officer said. Dongwu allowed himself a small smile. On the bridge, Hyun-Ki watched the battle turn. The Krell were in full retreat now. 7 of their ships were destroyed or disabled. The rest were trying to escape. "Should we pursue?" Yuna asked. Hyun-Ki shook his head. "No, we are too damaged for a chase." "Let them go," Nara agreed. "Let them carry the news back to their empire. Let them tell everyone what happened here." She turned to Hyun-Ki. "How did you know the pulse would work?" "I did not know for certain," Hyun-Ki admitted. "But Dongwu's analysis was thorough, and sometimes you have to take risks. Humans are good at taking risks. We have had a lot of practice." The Krell fleet pulled back beyond the asteroid field. They were regrouping, trying to decide what to do next. They had started with 15 ships and complete confidence. Now they had 8 ships, and they were afraid. On the Crimson Dawn, the crew began to realize they might survive. Officers who had not spoken to the humans before now nodded at them in the corridors. Some even said thank you. Taesung was checking systems in the engine room when a Valoran engineer approached him. "How did you know the Krell power cells would work with our systems?" she asked. "I studied their technology," Taesung said. "I study everything. You never know what will be useful. We did not think humans were capable of such work." Taesung looked at her. "Then you were not paying attention." The engineer was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Teach me what you did, for next time." Taesung nodded. "Okay." In the medical bay, the wounded were stable. Valoran doctors worked alongside Dongwu now without complaint. They had seen his skill during the crisis. They could not deny it. "Your surgical technique is very clean," a doctor said. "Where did you train?" "Seoul National University," Dongwu said. "Then Military Medical Corps for 10 years. "I thought humans only had basic medicine." Dongwu almost laughed. "We have been doing surgery for 3,000 years. We transplant hearts. We reattach severed limbs. We cure diseases that would have killed millions in the past." The doctor looked surprised. "We were not told this. There is a lot you were not told about humans." On the bridge, Commander Nara received a communication from the Krell fleet. "Valoran Commander, your tricks have won you a temporary advantage. But we will return with more ships. You cannot escape." Nara did not answer immediately. She looked at Hyun-Ki. "What do you think?" she asked. Hyun-Ki studied the display. "They are hurt, but they are right. If they get reinforcements, we cannot survive another attack. We need to leave now, while they are still disorganized." "Can we reach friendly space?" "Yes, if we leave within the hour." Nara made her decision. "All ships, prepare to retreat. Maximum speed." The Valoran fleet began to move. They left the asteroid field behind and jumped to light speed. The Krell did not follow. They were too damaged, too afraid. They had expected an easy victory. Instead, they had found something new, something dangerous: humans. The Valoran fleet traveled through space at maximum speed. Behind them, the Navarre asteroid field grew smaller and smaller. They had escaped the ambush. They had fought back. But they were not safe yet. On the Crimson Dawn, Hyun-Ki watched the scanner with careful eyes. The Krell fleet was still visible at the edge of the display. They were following at a distance. "They are not giving up," he said. Commander Nara stood beside him. "How long until we reach Dominion space?" 3 hours. "And they will reach us in?" Hyun-Ki checked the calculations. 2 hours, maybe less. Their ships are faster than ours, especially with our damage. Nara's jaw tightened. They had won the battle in the asteroid field, but the war was not over. "What are our options?" she asked. Hyun-ki thought carefully. We can try to fight them again. But we are weaker now. Our ammunition is low. Some of our ships can barely fly. What else? We can split up. Send the fastest ships ahead for help while the others stay behind to delay the Krell. Nara shook her head. I will not sacrifice any more ships. Hyun-ki respected that answer. It was what a good commander should say. Then we need another trick, he said. Something the Krell will not expect. Lieutenant Yuna walked over to them. The Krell commander is not stupid. He fell for our deception once. He will be more careful now. Yes, Hyun-ki agreed. So we cannot use the same approach. We need something new. He stared at the display, thinking. The space between their fleet and Dominion territory was mostly empty. A few small planets, some debris fields, nothing useful for hiding or traps. Then he saw it. A single bright point on the scanner. What is that? He asked. Yuna checked the readings. The Koros star. It is a young sun, very hot and active. Ships stay far away from it because of the radiation. Hyun-ki smiled slowly. What are you thinking? Nara asked. I am thinking that the Krell will expect us to run directly toward Dominion space. The fastest, safest route. That is the logical choice. Exactly. So we do something illogical instead. He pointed at the Koros star on the display. We go there. Yuna and Nara looked at him like he was crazy. That star will destroy our shields, Yuna said. The radiation will kill the crew. Not if we are careful, Hyun-ki said, and not if we make the Krell follow us into it. He explained his plan. The Valoran fleet would change course toward the star. The Krell would pursue, thinking the Valorans were desperate or lost. When both fleets were close to the star, the radiation would disrupt all sensors and communications. In that chaos, the Valorans would use the star's gravity to slingshot around it and escape while the Krell were blinded. It is extremely dangerous, Yuna said. Everything is dangerous right now, Hyun-ki replied. But the Krell will not expect this. They think we are too afraid to take such a risk. Nara was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. Do it, she said. The Valoran fleet changed course. Instead of running toward home, they turned toward the burning Koros star. On the Krell command ship, the enemy commander saw the change in direction. He frowned. Where are they going? His tactical officer checked the display. They are heading toward the Koros star. Perhaps their navigation is damaged. Or perhaps it is another trick. The commander thought about it. The Valorans had deceived him once already. He would not be fooled again. But he also could not let them escape. His emperor would never forgive such a failure. Follow them, he ordered, but stay alert. If they try anything, we destroy them immediately. The Krell fleet pursued. On the Crimson Dawn, Tae-sung prepared the ship for the radiation. He adjusted shields, reinforced critical systems, and prepared emergency protocols. It would be rough, but they could survive it. How close can we get? Nara asked over the communicator. Close enough for your plan, Tae-sung said, but not for long. 10 minutes in the radiation zone maximum. After that, systems will start failing. 10 minutes will be enough. Dongwoo prepared the medical bay for potential radiation injuries. He hoped they would not need it, but he always prepared for the worst. The star grew larger on the view screens. It was beautiful and terrible, a massive ball of fire that could destroy anything that came too close. The temperature in the ships began to rise. Krell fleet is still following, Yuna reported. They are closing the distance. Good, Hyun-ki said. We need them close for this to work. Nara opened a channel to all ships. All crews, prepare for radiation exposure. This will be uncomfortable, but stay at your posts. We need everyone. The fleet entered the radiation zone. Immediately, the displays began to flicker. Static filled the communications. The shields glowed as they absorbed energy from the star. Sensors are disrupted, Yuna said. I cannot see the Krell clearly. They cannot see us either, Hyun-Ki said. That is the point. All ships, begin the maneuver. The Valoran ships turned hard, using the star's gravity to swing around it. It was a precise move that required perfect timing. Too slow, and they would burn. Too fast, and they would fly off course. Tae-sung managed the Crimson Dawn systems with total focus. Power levels surged and dropped. Warning alarms sounded everywhere. He ignored them and kept the ship moving. Hold together, he whispered to the ship. Just a little longer. The Krell fleet tried to follow, but they had entered the radiation zone too deep. Their sensors were completely blind. Their commander shouted orders that no one could hear through the static. Where are they? Find them! But the Valorans were already gone, around the star and accelerating away on the other side. The Krell realized too late. By the time they cleared the radiation zone, the Valoran fleet was far ahead. They tricked us again, the Krell commander roared. He ordered pursuit, but his ships were damaged from the radiation. They were slower now. The distance between the fleets grew. On the Crimson Dawn, the crew began to breathe again. They had survived. We are clear of the radiation zone, Yuna reported. All ships still functioning. The Krell are falling behind. How long until Dominion space? Nara asked. 90 minutes. And the Krell will not catch us now. Relief spread through the bridge. Officers who had been tense for hours finally relaxed. Nara turned to Hyun-Ki. Another impossible plan that worked. It worked because of the crew, Hyun-Ki said, and because of Tae-sung. Without his work on the shields, we would have burned. I am beginning to understand something about humans, Nara said. You do not think like us. You do not fight like us. But that is not a weakness. It is a strength. Hyun-Ki nodded. Every species has different strengths. The Dominion is powerful because of your psychic abilities and physical strength. Humans are different. We adapt. We improvise. We find ways to survive when the odds are against us. Why? Hyun-Ki thought about it. Because we have no choice. On Earth, we were never the strongest creatures. We could not fight predators with our bare hands. We could not run fast or fly away. So we learned to think our way out of problems. It is in our nature now. Nara looked at the star fading behind them. The Dominion has existed for 10,000 years. We have conquered hundreds of species, but in all that time, we never met anyone quite like humans. Is that good or bad? Hyun-Ki asked. Nara almost smiled. I am not sure yet, but I think it is good. The fleet continued toward home. Behind them, the Krell finally gave up the chase. They turned back toward their own space, wounded and humiliated. They had learned an important lesson. Never underestimate humans. The Valoran fleet entered Dominion space with 6 ships remaining. They had left with 12. Other Dominion vessels came out to escort them home. News of the disaster in the Navarre asteroid field had already spread. Everyone knew that Admiral Hana was dead and half the fleet was destroyed. But they also knew that the survivors had fought back, that they had defeated the Krell trap and escaped against impossible odds. The Crimson Dawn docked at Valora Prime, the capital world of the Dominion. Medical teams rushed aboard to treat the wounded. Engineers began repairs. Officials waited to hear Commander Nara's report. Nara called Hyun-Ki, Tae-sung, and Dong-woo to her quarters before she left the ship. The High Council will want to know what happened, she said. I will tell them everything. Will they believe you? Hyun-Ki asked. Humans playing such a role in the battle. That is not something the Council will want to hear. Nara's eyes were firm. They will hear it anyway. I have been proud and foolish. I dismissed warnings because they came from humans. I ignored good ideas because I thought humans could not have them. My pride almost destroyed this fleet. She looked at each of them in turn. You saved us, all of you. and I will make sure everyone knows it." The three men were quiet. They had not expected this. "Thank you, Commander," Dongwu said finally. Nara nodded. Then she did something unexpected. She placed her hand over her heart and bowed her head slightly, a Velaran gesture of deep respect. "Thank you," she said. She left for the council chambers. Lieutenant Yuna found the three men later in the ship's mess hall. The room was empty except for them. Most of the crew was busy with repairs or reuniting with families on the station. "The commander's report is being broadcast to the entire fleet," Yuna said. "You should see this." She activated a display screen on the wall. Commander Nara stood before the High Council, 12 of the most powerful women in the Dominion. They sat in tall chairs arranged in a semicircle, looking down at her. "Report, Commander," the council leader said. "Tell us how you lost half your fleet." Nara's voice was steady and clear. "I lost half my fleet because of arrogance, council leader. Not enemy strength, not bad luck. Arrogance." The council members shifted in their seats. This was not what they expected. "We ignored intelligence that showed the ambush," Nara continued. "We dismissed it because it came from a human crew member. We thought humans were not capable of tactical analysis at our level. We were wrong." "You allowed a human to influence your tactical decisions?" one council member asked. "No. I refused to allow it. That was my mistake. When the ambush came, when our ships were being destroyed around us, I finally listened. And the human analyst saved us." Nara described the battle in detail. She told them about Hyun Ki's tactical plans, about Tai Sung's engineering repairs, about Dong Wu's medical knowledge, and the biological pulse weapon. She held nothing back. "These three humans performed at a level I have not seen from Valoran officers," Nara said. "They were calm under fire. They thought clearly when others panicked. They found solutions to problems that seemed impossible." The council leader leaned forward. "Are you suggesting that humans should be given greater responsibilities in our fleet?" "I am not suggesting it," Nara said. "I am requesting it, formally. Humans have abilities we have not recognized. They think differently than we do, and that difference is valuable. We should use it, not ignore it." The council members spoke quietly among themselves. "This is a significant change in policy," the council leader said. "Humans have always served in support roles." "Then our policy has always been wasteful," Nara replied. "How many battles could we have won more easily with human help? How many lives could we have saved?" More quiet discussion. Then the council leader spoke again. "We will consider your request, Commander. You may go." Nara bowed and left the chamber. In the mess hall, Hyun Ki turned off the display. "Well," Tae Sung said, "that was unexpected." "She risked her career for us," Dongwu said. The council did not look happy. "No," Hyun Ki agreed. "But she told the truth. That is what matters." The door opened. A young Valoran officer entered and approached them. "You are the three humans from Commander Nara's crew?" she asked. "Yes." "The council leader wishes to speak with you immediately." They looked at each other. An audience with the council leader was rare and serious. They followed the officer through the station to the council building. It was the largest structure on Valora Prime, with tall spires and walls made of shining metal. Guards stood at every door. They were brought to a private room, not the main chamber. The council leader was there alone, sitting at a simple table. She was old, even for a Velaran who lived for centuries. Her silver skin had faded to gray and her eyes were deep with experience. "Sit," she said. They sat. The council leader studied them for a long moment. "Commander Nara says you saved the fleet. Is this true?" Hyun Ki answered carefully. "We helped. The commander made the decisions. The Valoran officers did the fighting. We just provided information and technical support." Do not be modest. I have read the full reports. You provided strategy, weapons repair, and medical intelligence. You performed far beyond your assigned roles. We did what was necessary, Tae-sung said. The council leader smiled slightly. It made her look more human somehow. Yes, that is what Commander Nara said about humans. You do what is necessary. You adapt. You find ways. She stood and walked to a window that looked out over the capital city. The Dominion has existed for a very long time. We have grown comfortable in our power. We think we know everything, that we are better than other species. This makes us blind. She turned back to them. I am promoting all three of you to full officer rank. You will serve on the Crimson Dawn under Commander Nara with full authority. The three men were stunned. Council leader, Hyun-ki said, we are honored. But may I ask for something more? Speak. There are thousands of humans serving in the Dominion fleet, cleaning, carrying, doing simple repairs. Many of them have skills like ours. Engineers, doctors, scientists, strategists. They have never been given the chance to show what they can do. He paused, then continued. If you truly believe we have value, then give all humans the same opportunity. Let them prove themselves. You may be surprised at what you find. The council leader looked at him for a long time. You could have asked for wealth or status for yourselves. Instead, you ask for others. We are human, Dong-woo said. We look out for each other. Another long silence. Then the council leader nodded. I will issue a new directive. All human crew members will be evaluated for advanced positions. Those with skills will be promoted. It will take time to change attitudes throughout the fleet, but we will begin. Thank you, council leader. Do not thank me yet. You have set something in motion that cannot be stopped. Humans will rise in the Dominion. That will change everything. I am not sure if we are ready for it. Hyun-ki smiled. Neither are we. But we will adapt. The council leader laughed, a real laugh, warm and genuine. Yes, I suppose you will. 1 week later, the Crimson Dawn launched again, fully repaired and ready for service. Commander Nara stood on the bridge with her officers. Among them were 3 humans, wearing the uniform of Velaran fleet officers. It felt strange. It felt right. Nara addressed the crew over the ship's communication system. This ship has been through fire. We have lost friends. We have faced death. But we survived, and we are stronger for it. She looked at the humans. We survived because we learned to see value where we had been blind. We listened to voices we had ignored. We discovered that strength comes in many forms. She turned to the main view screen, which showed the stars ahead. The galaxy is watching us now. The Krell will tell everyone what happened. Other species will hear that the Dominion has changed, that humans have a place at our side. She smiled. Let them watch. Let them see what we can do together. The ship moved forward into space, toward new missions and new challenges. And somewhere in the galaxy, on 1,000 different worlds, humans looked up at the stars and felt something change. Their time had come. The universe was about to learn what humanity could do when given the chance.